comunque il calcio è imprevedibile e le cose non sono mai scontate, quindi è anche la bellezza, no, di questo sport.
Io rappresentavo per questa squadra, era quello che non mollava mai, quello che doveva fare stare sempre su il morale, ma io mi ci trovavo bene perché sono sempre stato uno che mi piaceva dare fuoco ai miei compagni, caricarli prima delle partite.
Il mio sogno che si è avverato è uno dei sogni dei bambini, di tanti bambini.
È un qualcosa per la gente che riusciamo a fare diventare matti, riusciamo a fare diventare felici e contenti.
Con questa maglia devo veramente fare una performance diversa perché sto rappresentando.
Morning, afternoon, evening, good night. See you later. How is everyone today? Really good to actually talk to you guys. It's been a couple of weeks since I was on last. Nothing has changed in the context of the club. Still a shit show, so that's always nice. At least there's consistency that way. It's good to be back with you guys again this week. So I'm Shane, your host from Milanistas 360, with his fellow co-host, Mr. Labgorilla. How have you been this week, man?
Good. I'm kind of like tempted. Should I do the Irish good morning? Should I?
No one ever says that. No, you would. But no one like that. No one ever says that. I think so.
No one ever says top of the morning for you, laddie.
No. No one ever says that. I think it was probably on a movie or something. And,
I think so. Right. How am I? I don't know, Shane. I'm starting you try and laugh as much as you can. The news headlines keep coming. The news keeps coming. I guess today's a good day, so I'm gonna go and obviously see the Milan Legends stuff. So I'm curious to see who's gonna turn up on the pitch. I hope no one from senior management is there, to be honest with you, because
who's the manager for the Milan Glory?
I've got literally no information at all. I think I'm just gonna have to find out when I get there, dude. Just say to everyone, I can't see the chat today. Shane is in control of that. So Shane, feel free to stop me anytime, yeah?
Of course.
Always. Cool.
Course.
Shall we go?
Let's kick into it. Just before we start, morning Cacciavit, Fadinho, Gunardi.
Oh, hi guys.
Gunardi, it's 3 p.m. Where Gunardi is.
Really?
Seems like a good time to catch up with the guys in Australia and the Far East.
It is. This is like the Far East podcast, basically, in terms of
pretty much, yeah.
Who it catches. It's pretty good, yeah. We're different. We're covering with all the Milan podcasts. Cover every single time zone eventually.
That's it.
I've got the Formula One in the background as well, Shane.
Oh yeah. Actually, just a quick one. What's happening there right now? Just a synopsis.
We have McLaren first and second, and Mercedes third, Ferrari fourth and fifth. So not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad.
All right. So the title of this pod is AC Mediocre or AC Mediocrity, depending on how you want to look at it. So there's a couple of things to cover on this. John, you're now
in control, yeah?
In control,
cool.
Yep.
All right, guys. So the rumors are getting stronger in Italy. I think most of the newspapers are indicating that Paratici is the main target that Furlani is going after. I think there comes a point where, it's all very funny, the situation. We have to laugh at ourselves. But I have to question, seriously question what Furlani, who is now clearly in control, is doing. I know very well that yesterday it was announced that a new deal with Emirates Airline was done. Big hooray, big fanfare, whatever, more money coming in. It makes me feel I feel like I don't know if that's the right word, exasperated, where I just don't know what it means anyway. It means nothing. Interesting news, I guess. is also that one of the clubs from the World Club Cup has been ejected, Leon or something, I think they're called, because
Yeah,
their owners own two teams apparently, and that breaks in the same league or something like that. So they break ownership rules. Shane, you heard about this?
interesting. No, no,
Yeah.
that's. But it's
Says,
not going to mean that we get that spot, surely. No.
well, so that's the obviously it's come up in one of the Milan channels saying that, ownership are hoping. All right, yeah, sure you are. Of course you are, because you want another 50 million, which we'll show you in a minute what the 50 million would do. But it's like they own Pachuca and Leon or something like that, the two teams in Mexico, and they shouldn't have done that. Apparently, it breaks rules. So
Interesting.
okay, let's go to Paratici now. Everybody knows Paratici, Fabio Paratici, as uh, the joke we have in house is the criminal, right? And so I was like, okay, listen, man, I know that he was at Juventus. I know he was at Tottenham. I know he was involved in the whole Plus Valenza deal where all senior management at Juventus are basically banned from doing anything to do with football. You remember this, right, Shane? Um, but I did think to myself, let's have a closer look at the actual charges. So he was alleged. I'm going to say allegedly. I don't think so. Anyway, he's already been accused and he's serving his sentence. But involved in plus valenza, which is capital gain scandal, and false accounting at Juventus. And these are the key allegations against him. First, artificial capital gains. Okay, under his management, they inflated player transfer values to manipulate and cook the books. So that's the first one. That's just one. The next one, um, alleged secret salary agreement. You remember, Shane, during the COVID time, a lot of teams they had to
Mhm.
suspend wage payments for players, right? What
Yeah.
really happened at Juventus under this guy is they said to the governing bodies that they had suspended payments and reduced the salaries, but actually, allegedly, had undisclosed private agreements to pay them later, violating financial regulations. And what happened here was that he was initially caught by the Italian Football Federation, was given a 30-month ban from Italian football. But then when FIFA looked into it, they were like, no, this is to be a worldwide ban. So he was banned from doing anything to do with football, right? By the time the FIFA ban came in, um, he was already at Tottenham. And so he was forced to be removed from Tottenham from his role. So his involvement led to Juventus being given that famous point deduction in Serie A, and um, multiple club executives, which you've not seen them because they're not allowed to be seen. So in April 2023, he resigned as managing director of Tottenham Hotspur due to his global ban. Um, Initially, he tried to continue working at Spurs, but FIFA, once they went after and said, no, it cannot be a Serie A only, because what they did is break rules of world football, and he got a global ban. So people are like, okay, this is a guy that knows his stuff. But this made me wonder when I saw this, 30 month, just do the maths, March 2023, what does that mean exactly? And so I looked it up. Um, he is he went on an appeal, and apparently won part of that appeal, and he's now allowed to engage in certain football activities such as administrative tasks and attending training sessions, but he cannot enter dressing rooms, even, Shane, during matches. He cannot negotiate contracts with players or agents, which is the main reason for a DS, and he can't participate in league meetings. Hence, he is banned until July 2025. And there's talk of him coming early into Milan. I are we talking about what, having somebody that's going to potentially break these ban rules in his very first few months? I mean, I wouldn't put it past it. You know why, Shane? Because I think the
I
conflict
think
is incredible.
so. I think the plan was that he's if he's decided, if they go ahead with him now, right, he's essentially not going to be doing anything till July anyway.
Right.
So
So they just appoint him.
they just appoint him, and it's like, right, you can't, because he can't really do anything until July anyway. Also,
So
Skillard
yeah.
is just pinged in the chat. Glad you guys dropped that Malaysian Redbird supporter. I heard he's funding the rot. So yeah,
How you doing, Hasni? I'm sure he's watching the Formula One as well, by the way.
that's
I'm
it.
sure that's exactly what he's up to. Yeah, so I don't know. Shane, I wanted your opinion on this. A lot of these facts regarding his still being banned, it just tells me this is not a person that you want at your club. Why would you want somebody like this? Have you got any opinion on this?
Yeah, so it's kind of a mixed bag with this guy, right? Because essentially what I did is I had a look at his track record at Juventus, right? Because you want to try and be objective about these things, and you can't just go, "Oh, well, despite what's happened, if we look at his record, trying to figure out, was he a success or not?" So when he was at Juventus from 2010 to 2021, keep in mind they went on, and I know there was a multitude of reasons for this, John, but Juventus did go on that, what was it, 9 Serie A's in a row starting in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a track record there of him winning, like, him being able to set up, like, let's say, a winning squad. And he also
Whilst
got in,
cooking the books, Shane.
was cooking the books, right? But he also got in players like, if you can get in Paul Pogba on a free and then sell him back to the same club for 120 million or whatever it was, you're doing something
But
right.
Shane, surely that is what Plus Valenza is about.
That's fair.
This is my point. So I know what you're saying, Shane. It's like try and separate the allegations from his achievements. And I
Sure.
was trying to do that. And then in my head I was thinking, well, you can't, because the way Juventus behaved is as if they had a blank checkbook, because that's exactly what they were doing, right? They were making up numbers that youth player comes in for X amount, they sell for an enormous amount, that's under him. Everyone else is losing players, and these guys are continuously keeping players. Why? Because they were cooking the book. So it's hard. This is why. I don't care actually about Juventus support. I actually hate Juventus, possibly even more than Inter Milan, because of this. Because they behaved for decades. They stand there talking about, I don't know, I don't really know, that 30-something Serie A titles. They
Yeah,
talk
but
about...
John, and you know yourself, dude, like, I know there was all this business about, them being so quick to try and get the third star under jersey and all this junk, right? But like, the Serie A titles that they lost, right? It's only the tip of the fucking iceberg. Do you know what I mean? Because they've
Yes.
been doing this for years.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
So this guy was kind of like clearly central to the entire system. They got used to a system where they were just able to, without any punishment, they were able to just go every summer. You know what? Those are the best players that from those teams. We'll buy them and we'll put them on our bench, and we won't use them even. That's what they were doing year after year after year, and as it turns out, they were doing it through cooking the books. Now, I don't. I can't separate this guy from it. That's the problem. So I wonder how he would function under a system that's being monitored. Because you don't think for a minute, Shane, that this guy will not be watched the moment he goes back to full activity. He'll be watched like a hawk.
That's very true. And I suppose when you kind of mention it like that, right? It's kind of how can you, so there's a really good point here by Fahadinho in the chat, and he's like, Paratici has no achievements, it's all Marotta, right? And he could, that's also a very valid point, how much of it was this Paratici guy and how much of it was Marotta? So
Well, I don't know. This is such a strong rumor. I just find it really odd that, and again, I think my point was this, Shane, is our management has made so many bad decisions from day one. I think the greatest, I can't remember who mentioned it. It might have been Fahadinho himself said, or actually it was Carmelo who said, had ownership just had a bit of humility at the beginning and brought in people that knew what they were doing, none of this would be necessary today, where probably at least 50% of the fan base actively want the club to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah, to try and eject this owners out. He's so right in saying that. The reason we're here today is because bad decisions were made, and the reason we're looking for a sporting director 2 years in is because these guys decided, between Moncada and Ibrahimovic, decided that they did not need a sporting director because they could do the function, which
But John,
they
you see,
can't, Shane.
this is the issue I have with it, right? Anyone can make a bad decision, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. It's unfortunate when you're dealing with something where there's like, thousands of different potential choices that you can make, and the one that you make is the incorrect one. Okay, look, it happens, right? Whatever, right? But it's just the fact that it's not Maldini getting the firing, which was the start of it, of course. But it was the fact that even after Maldini was fired, it's like, what did you say, 2 years in?
2 years in.
We're still looking for someone, which is, you would expect, like at a basic level, a club needs a sporting director to function.
Yeah, well, they got rid of Frederick Massara alongside Maldini, right? Frederick Massara was a sporting director, right? Maldini was a technical director. As we said in many podcasts before, first of all, you cannot replace Moncada cannot replace Maldini. It just doesn't do that function. Number one,
It's not his job, and there was no. You see, this is the thing as well, is like the three guys that they promoted, right? Can you imagine, like, people take the piss out of Barcelona all the time because they're broke as fuck, right?
Yes.
But no matter how broke as fuck as they are, right? Can you imagine Barcelona coming out and actually saying, "Oh, do you know what, guys? We're actually going to try something new and undocumented that's never been proven to work anywhere before." People would be taking the piss out of them.
I mean, this is the thing, Shane. It's like every move that's now been going on since January is a move intended to make up for the mistakes made over the previous 1.5 years, almost more than that. Transfer window mistakes, they tried to make up for it in January. Now, coaching mistakes, they try and make it up. Fonseca being brought in, they brought in Conceição, but they still brought in Conceição and gave him handcuffs. Then they're now saying, okay, look, potentially looks like the fan base wants a sporting director. We're gonna now talk about sporting director, but we'll talk about a sporting director who has been banned from world football, who does not have a clean record, right? Why would we bring him in? Oh, because we make mistakes every single time. Every single thing we do, we make mistakes. And so,
See, the problem, just to go back to what you said earlier as well, John, I do think it's a very valid point, right? You can't exactly look at this sporting director knowing the list of things that he's been, successfully charged with. You can't point a finger at him and go, he's actually good. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like,
as an independent fan, someone who is not a fan of Juventus, someone who is just here, literally just looking at his record and looking what he's done, I can't exactly, Shane. I can't see a man and where I can say, oh, like up to this year he was completely clean and he did these fantastic. No, you
can't.
You can't, because Juventus was allegedly corrupt for many years. Like, probably pre this guy, during this guy, and so on. So I hate that club, which does, obviously, I'll be honest, it does influence my thought on this, but also the way that he has gone about those years that he was at Juventus and all these charges just tells me I don't want him anywhere near my club. But you know what? I am not surprised that Forlani has gone for him. Why? Because it's another bad decision that's like numb to anything.
See,
yeah.
And you know why? I know it hasn't been confirmed yet, right? And the news reports are still like saying that, oh, they've kind of narrowed it down to a list of 5 potential people that they're looking at for the sporting director role. But the reason why I think I've gone so heavy in with the expectation it's going to be this Paratici guy and it's going to be Allegri is because I think it was last week. Allegri was seen to have gone to dinner with Paratici, so they had, that was apparently to smooth the waters over because of how it ended when the two of them were at Juventus, because basically it was Paratici that got rid of Allegri that time before he
Well,
came back.
a great point here. Just this picture. That's the only thing I have on Allegri that I wanted to show. I mean, you can talk about his trophies or whatever if you want, Shane, but who was Juventus coach when the scandal broke? Who was Juventus coach when the points were deducted? Right?
Mm.
You know, who was Juventus coach whilst all of this was going on? Obviously, he didn't get a ban because he was just a coach, right? But isn't it absolutely moronic to think that Milan CEO is thinking that a really good idea is to bring in a pair of I don't know how to call them, Shane, or maybe you have a word, but
Shillers, grifters.
yes, exactly, a
Yeah.
pair of shillers. That's a great word. A pair of shillers that have done what they did and transfer them over into our club, and they think that this is going to somehow appease the fans. It really, for me, it's a no go.
So
That's what I'm going to say.
there's two parts of it, right? Because we have also, it's to try and temper our expectations a bit, right? Because we have also, myself included, we have asked for more of an Italian core at the club, right?
Yes, yes.
And for me, why
Not
this
an
move,
Italian criminal core.
true. But why, I'm not saying that this is the best move that we can make, but for me, logically, why it makes sense that they would go for this move is if you think about it, the two of them are unemployed. So you don't have to come with the risk of having to pay, like, let's say Juventus or Spurs. You don't have to pay them some sort of
Oh Jesus! Oh my
a
God!
fee. So
So we're saving money again.
that 100%. Like, this is why I'm so convinced it's going to be these two guys, because when you look at everything in the overall topic, in the overall context, right, this management don't want to, like, they don't want any financial risk. So I mean, are they going to go for, like, I mean, who's it? Was that Full Krug or some? I can't remember this guy's
No.
name, but he was from the German. He was a sporting director over in Germany. Very exciting,
Mm.
But they're never going to go for a young, exciting name like that. What they'll do is they'll go for someone that's basically unattached. Same with Conceição. He was unattached.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Because then it's like we don't have to pay anyone any,
Dude, as I said, it comes a point where you try and laugh, you try and make a joke out of it and stuff. There does come a point, right, where you kind of like, I was putting this together and thinking, this is really sad. It's really sad that now it's extending to Furlani's Italian. You can talk about him being part of the Italian core, right? But his behavior is about like as if he was a human calculator. That's
Oh no,
all
this
he is
is very
doing.
much money first. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
the fact that he came out and said he was a Milan fan,
it's
I find that, like,
it's insulting. It's insulting.
eh, I mean, you could not tell,
Yeah.
you know.
And Shane, I mean, to the title of this pod today,
Mm.
can I just say something? Like, honestly, I feel very much like part of the fan base today will go away. They will look at, for example, this hire, and they will turn around and say, "Great, we're moving forward." That's AC mediocrity, not AC Milan. Part of the fan base will look at a single win against Lecce, a single win against Como, and will talk about this being a masterclass. AC mediocrity.
Dude, do you
Part
know
of
what
this fan base will, yes,
the concern I have with it? Sorry, I'll have to get to the comments as well, guys. Another racking up. But the the concerning part for me is that I think because of the strong copium levels that are at the club nowadays, right? It's like
yeah.
any change whatsoever is being seen as a huge thing, because that's what happens in banter eras, right? So I think, we'll start going on, you'll start seeing, maybe Milan centric podcasts and maybe just Italian football centric podcasts come out with thumbnails saying Milan are going to win the Serie A next year because of Allegri,
Oh God.
Um,
I mean, Shane, maybe if you want to catch up with the chat because I can't see any of it. So
Sorry, yeah, John.
yeah,
So just a good comment from Gennardis, just on the subject of Paratici. So remember, he did trade Pjanic for Arthur with manipulated fee. Well, I tell you, right, if you could trade Musa for, I don't know, who would you get? I don't know. Musa for any random player with a manipulated fee, I'd still fucking take it at this point.
But no, Shane, you don't want to take it because you get a point deduction.
It's all right. To be honest,
You know,
it's you have a
this is what would
points
happen to
deduction.
you.
You have a points deduction when Musa plays for you, John. It's just more
Yeah.
slow and drawn out. All right.
I mean, yeah. I mean, some was it Art sent me a video clip of him playing. I think it was Panama, and he went to clear a ball. It completely missed it.
I
Oh
see.
my
Yeah,
god.
you see,
Oh.
that was great. So just a couple of comments from Fadinho. So yeah, this is more just kind of based around who Paratici had with him at Juventus. So it's obviously Marotta. When he went to Inter, when Marotta went to Inter, Juve, they started to decline. That's a valid point. Just watch Juve under Marotta and watch Inter under Marotta. Marotta is the brain and the architect behind their successes. When Paratici took over, everything started to decline, even in Spurs. Also fair point. And just shout out from Kim. Good evening, guys. He's watching F1. Listen to the rest later. Keep up. And John Forster Ferrari. Paratici, once a cheater, always a cheater. Don't need his nonsense. An absolute cancer. To be fair, dude, I think we could do better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although
Great.
the question is do we deserve better?
No, we don't.
Because
And I
we
think
really don't, you know.
yeah. We've got a fan base who are going to be happy to win one game every now and then. We've got a fan base who are happy to go and pay and turn up at the stadium and watch this utter shit for 45 minutes, being 1-2, 3-0 down and catching up again, if you're lucky.
So just
I,
John,
yeah,
there's a quick one, right? Did you see the total the ticket sales for, I think was it for this season?
over
And
a million, wasn't it?
Milan guys this season, right, have basically sold more tickets than anyone else in the league. Does anyone else find that that's complete bullshit and hard to believe, especially in Italy, right? Where, I mean, what are the ticket sale? The ticket price has gone up by 300%.
I can't remember the number. Yeah, I can't remember.
So unless
It was,
Cardinal is flying in flights of guys from the States to go and see these games, I can't see that those numbers must be based on they're probably based on, you know, like the overall cost of the ticket, and it couldn't be over 1 million people. I know it stipulates 1 million people, but they've probably done it based on like the costs last season, and then it's because the ticket prices have shot up by like 300%. Where, you know, we're making the most money. There's no fucking people are showing up to our games.
On that point, Shane, Radio Rossonera was saying they were there at the stadium against Como, and they pointed the cameras at the stands and said, "This is not a full house. Here you go. Here's the evidence." And it wasn't just the Curva Sud missing for 15 minutes. There were patches all over the stadium. And so he said, "There's something going on here." Like their comment was, "Just stop the bullshit. Stop the bullshit. Whoever is releasing this information, stop the bullshit."
Maybe Paratici's already started working for us. That's why the bullshit started to come out. If you can only do administrative tasks, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe he's working for comms or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so I think my point there is, and I didn't want to enter into a full size rant, but the big discussion we've had in the fan base is you should. I cannot accept this, Shane. I just can't accept it. And it's not me trying to hold on to a Berlusconi era. It's not me. But if you just turn yourself around and say, right, so are we saying that Milan 2025 is a loser club full of loser fans who will accept being mediocre, being mid-table out of every single European competition at this early stage, going out to Dinamo Zagreb, losing to Feyenoord? If this is something that you accept, and this is something that you want to be saying, oh, I was there during that time. We're being told at the start of the season that we've got ambition to be serious, we've got ambition to be winning things. As a fan, as a simple fan, we know that there's no way that any of that is going to happen, because your choice of coach is bad. The coach of no sporting director makes no sense. And again, there's no core, there's no soul to the club whatsoever.
I'm
So
just,
how
dude,
do you take that?
I'm very surprised, right, that they put Ibrahimovic out to pasture as quickly as they did.
Mate, I would have shot him out of a cannon 6 months ago, mate.
Dude, but like I'm very surprised, because it just shows you, like, I don't get it, right? But it seems that. So, and here's how you know that we're not just owned by one entity, we're owned by two, and those two entities do not see eye to eye at all. Because when it's like a key position, right, they'll take, like, in some cases 2 years to fill it, right?
Yeah.
But if it's a position that was invented and made up, like God knows what Ibras was, he's not, he's not working for us, he's working for Redbird, okay, but then he's still showing up at the fucking at Milanillo. So what's he doing, right? So
Yeah.
when that's seen not to be working, right? I mean, he's put out to pasture very quickly. So
can I just say what I think has happened here? And this is purely my idea, is that Furlani has flown to speak to Cardinale and said, I'm Elliot, I represent Elliot, I know what Elliot wants, you need to get rid of this man, you made a mistake in bringing him in, I need to be given all the power. And being told something like that, Cardinale's got no choice but to say, yep, okay, Elliot are my paymasters, they're actually the people that I owe loads of money to, potentially rumours that they still own the club, really. Furlani took all control and cut the legs off Ibrahimovic. That's as simple as I see it, is that I know people are going to say to me, oh, no, he's not really an Elliot man. Don't care about any of that for me. For me, Furlani has basically shown his cards now. And
I'll
for
put
him
it
to
this
be...
way, John. If
Yeah.
if Furlani's rocking up at Redbird headquarters to have a meeting with Cardinale, and if he has two, like, solicitors with him from Elliot, right, that to me is probably as scary as the Gestapo.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't want them showing up on your doorstep. Like, so it's like he's probably going, yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. You have control. And for me, Shane, Furlani being given even more control is even worse. It just cannot get worse, because, I mean, it can get worse because he could bring in criminals into the... Oh, hang on a minute.
Oh,
What are we talking about
for
today? Yeah.
Our new sporting director is on day release from prison.
Yeah, like you get a guy who's banned in 2025, and so it's a concept, it's an idea to bring him in.
Yeah.
Allegri, listen, Allegri, on footballing reasons, Shane, on footballing reasons, in terms of the defensive football he plays, the anti-football that he plays, I know your point, which is very well put, which is ultimately defending is a huge problem for us, right, Shane? We can't win games 1-0. We just can't do it, because we are like the Red Sea, and Moses is coming by. Every team has its own Moses.
That's it.
And it parts our defense and scores many goals, right? We need defensive solidity. Understood. And I understand why, on footballing reasons, Shane, I understand why you're saying that. For everything else, no. Yeah? For everything else, that is like the connection to Paratici, that's like adding more toxicity to an already incredibly toxic situation in my mind. I don't want them at my club.
True. And I mean, again, like, and I know I've said it, but we can't really gauge anything on Paratici if he's been successful or not. And I suppose just going by what Fahadinho had said, like, an awful lot of this was Marotta. So
yeah.
Just a couple of comments though. Christ, because they're rolling in quick today. So Fahadinho, Sartori is a better option. He's available June, July. Can probably come now if they make a deal. Fahadinho, explain to me, who's this Sartori guy? Sartori, pardon. Gunardi, best alternative is Braida, but he's too old. I know, but that's back to the good old days, man, when we were actually a serious club. and we had serious people in serious positions. MLM podcast. Good morning, sir. Nice to see you. Some guy called Skillard. Like and subscribe, guys. Force the starfish. Bring back the condor. Murder Murder Wanker Nally, Shit Stain Alley, MLM podcast. And then, oh man,
Legends.
we're getting like so many. Okay, one more comment, right? Because the rest is just Skiller trolling us, I think, at this point.
He's
Kim
trolling
Marie,
us.
he is. Just to a certain someone who makes these hideous titles is outstanding, world class, sensational, the savior. He needs a good slap to his face. Clearly excess mediocrity. Absolutely embarrassing. So true,
Yeah.
dude. So fucking true.
Yeah. I am, it's kind of incredible that the kind of last time the social media era wasn't really fully up to speed like this, but now seeing what we're seeing, it's personally, I find it really disappointing that I share a club with people who are accepting of such a loser mentality. I that's not why I started supporting Milan.
Kind of
That's
what happens, man, So it happens with people in everyday life, right? So you see people that like live their life with a very low bar. And then because they live their life with a very low bar in terms of what they accept is okay, acceptable behavior, then losers hang around with losers, right? It's just the way
yeah,
it goes.
but I'd rather, as I think I've said this before, I'd rather have my club with its soul back and be in a lower division than actually be in Serie A playing like this and behaving like this. I think the biggest problem is its behavior, its communications, and it's the fact that the club now genuinely, for me, has zero soul. It just doesn't. It does not look like Milan anymore, even. And
Ill-aligned values, I think, are the problem, dude.
yes, and for me, values are really, really, really important for a club. And for those people that are like, listen, this is the situation, you got to deal with it. I think you don't understand this. I think you just don't understand what Milan values are supposed to be.
Fahadinho's onto a winner here, though. So I think I'd be excited about this move if they made it. Sartori was the architect behind Atlanta's success and Bologna's. His contract with Bologna runs out in June or July.
Yeah, that would show some
That's
ambition.
that's like a track record of success. Like, do you know what I mean? If you
Yeah,
can do that with two separate clubs in the league,
yeah. I,
you know.
I, I Anyway, okay. So let's try and do this. So the next topic here, Shane. Oh my god, I don't know if this is going to work, dude. Or I'm going to try it.
Go for
It's not working. Hey, I knew it. I love technology. So the idea there was it
it.
was going to bring up a link to the players at Milan that are currently in international duty. But unfortunately, this does not work. Balls.
No stress. Wait.
Yeah.
No, yeah, no, it's gone. But who do we have, right? So just to go
No,
through
we
it.
can discuss it. Yeah, let's just discuss it. So,
Mid
um,
Rangers, who scored?
Santi Jimenez,
Santi Jimenez.
Reindeers, Jimenez, Pavlovic and Jovic. I know those two.
Who cares?
Um, I know. Walker,
Fuck.
Walker as well. What did I say? I said Musa and Pulisic.
Who's that?
They're both out
Who's
playing.
Moynihan playing for France? Does anyone know?
Oh, Theo and Magnan both went. I don't know if Fofana went actually. So yeah, I think that's pretty much. I think there's 15 players according to a report I saw, something like 15 players out of our squad, which is probably the 15 that get picked all the time, which is great, isn't it?
Royale was picked by Brazil. No, he wasn't.
Ah.
But just a quick one though, I thought it was funny, man. You see, the way sometimes, because this is how you can, when you don't look at things from a high level perspective enough, right? Because what happens is if you start looking at everything through the biasness of because you love the club, then silly things happen, right? But I remember a lot of people were complaining because it was like, why did Theo say he was unfit for who are we playing, Como?
Yeah.
And next thing he's rocking up to the France team. It's like, dude, you do realize this is what happens when the club has basically told you that they're going to fucking sell you in the summer. Like, where's and for rightful reasons, to be honest, because he hasn't showed up in about a year and a half. But
Yeah.
besides that, right, he's hardly going to fucking rock up and go, oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm going to put myself, potentially get injured here when I can put myself in the shop window playing a blinder for France. He's not going to do that.
So again, this is an interesting one. I think this points to another thing that's happening in the media. I think a lot of the media are putting the boot in Shane right now because they can. We're such an easy target. They can literally pick on anyone. And I feel like there's a lot of vultures that have turned on Milan and just going, now is the time. And a lot of the media is controlled by potentially associate of other clubs, and they are finding any opportunity to lay waste to Milan. And so the Theo story, I'll give you the some of the Italian media's opinion on it, is that he did have a knock. At halftime, he said, I can't come out on the second half. The coach wanted to play him, but he was like, no, I'm not ready.
I'm
He did,
only getting paid enough for one half.
well, he turned up for France, but I don't think he was selected. I don't think he played. And again, and they lost anyway to they lost to Croatia or something there, which was pretty bad.
I
But
remember it was a bit surprising. I remember looking at the scoreline going, oh, it's surprising, but I cannot remember who the fuck they were playing against, to be honest. Someone in the chat wants to tell us. Shout out as well, Toyo Taz. I believe, I don't think I've seen your name before. If so, if not, it's really good to hear
Toyotas.
from you.
Is it called
Toyota.
Toyotas?
It is. No, it's Toyotaz, but it's Toyotaz. Yeah, Toyotaz. Very good. Okay. Musa doesn't deserve to start. He's not AC Milan caliber. We need Tonali and Maldini back. So Toyotas. Right. Very good. Awesome name. I would fire Musa out of a cannon into the sun. He's not a quality player. Any position he plays in, I don't know. Like, does he have, I don't know, nude pictures of Furlani or something like that, right? Because he's played nearly every position on the pitch at this point, and he's been shit in every one of them. The only reason he's playing for this club is because he's an American passport, and because Cardinale is going, oh, he might become the next big thing. The thing is if he was playing at the championship level in England, right, he'd probably be all right. He'd be passable. But the thing is, he doesn't have. He's such a low ceiling. Like,
yeah.
And again,
I think
like
players are being selected. No, I know, but my opinion has always been players are being selected due to their potential price when sold.
And marketing.
They're all being selected for marketing reasons. They're being selected for the fact that how much they were brought in for.
Yep.
That's literally why players are being selected and nothing else. It's not a footballing reason why this club is currently running as it is. And that explains why they're ninth. Yep. Honest to God. I think every manager's being told, don't give a crap who you are. Your hands are tied. This is what you're going to do. And this is your pool of players that you're supposed to select, and explains a lot of other things that are happening. It's the only reasonable explanation as to why everything is so poor around the club.
And to be honest, John, right? You see, the scary thing is I think when I look at, because Musa has such a low ceiling, right? Like, guys, I mean, if I see Musa, right, playing for Monza, who are, going to get, well, if they're not relegated already, they're going to be, right? If I seen him playing for Monza, I'd probably think that's about his level.
Yeah.
And, and then we have potential kids at Futura, right? And then it's kind of like, well, surely, even if their level, right, isn't that high, I'm pretty sure that, they would probably be able to give you, if not the same, with a potentially higher ceiling in terms of output. They could give you more than Moose's give. I don't understand it.
Hey, by the way, Liberale scored 2 goals, yeah?
Yeah.
Just saying. I'm just saying, mate. I'm just saying. All right. All right. This is the other story that's come out this week. Is a bit more clarity as to what's happened. And for those who can recall, Shane, I know you will, that we had a long episode discussing the stadium project about a year ago and the unlikelihood that San Donato was going to go anywhere. And I sought a source, a family member who's worked with Como, right, submitted a project to Como Football Club for part of the hospitality area. So they're an architect in Italy. They really understand how things are going. So let me just give you a bit of facts, and then we're going to discuss the current opinion. Okay, so a beautiful stadium, our old beautiful stadium. Ring, ring, ring. Right. The Milan and Inter have had the stadium and the surrounding areas valued. The valuation for the stadium, the San Siro, is 73 million euros only. It just shows you, what kind of like disrepair and or poor state the stadium is in right now to be valued at 73 million euros. There's a very important date that's now come out. It's the 10th of November 2025. Now, actually, can you see my pointer, by the way, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that should probably be that date should be bouncing onto this because it's the second ring. So
Right.
what happens is 10th of November 2025 will be 70 years since this ring was added to the stadium, is my understanding from my reading. And that means that it will become of cultural significance. So it will literally add another block to the entire system. So that is a hard stop, Shane. So it's literally, if you do not purchase the stadium by this date, you're basically not going to be able to touch the San Siro, right? And I then went to that family member and I said, "What can you tell me about the was it that office of like cultural significance that assigns things, the heritage office or whatever they are?" And she told me there is zero chance that they will allow anybody to touch this stadium. But not only that, there is, in her opinion, it's a complete disaster. That it won't be because the local council can't afford to maintain it. So you'll literally be left with a monument that's going to be crumbling, right?
Yeah, but that's
And
the thing. I mean, I understand in Italy, right, where you have ruins that are of actual, you know,
yeah,
cultural like significance, right? But you you know, if a building's under 100 years old, I'm sorry, but like you renovate it.
well, the second ring will achieve the 70-year anniversary and then it will become cultural significant. I think it's funny that Italian law has basically got a system in place that is forcing Redbird to make a decision. So the idea is here they have to make a decision by around July time to be sure that they'll be able to purchase the entire thing. Now, wait. See that number that just bounced in?
Yeah.
That is the valuation of the surrounding areas to the San Siro, the land, okay, where they want to build the new stadium alongside part of the San Siro. Inter and Milan are looking for an 80 million euro discount on the total value, so it's 123 plus 73. They want an 80 million discount because of apparently it's like cleanup costs and digging up costs. They apparently, according to Italian law, that cannot be charged under the total value. So we come up with a value of 170 million euros that has to just be shared between Inter and Milan. And if you think about that number, it's a tiny number. The local council is really pissed off, Shane. You can imagine they're really pissed off that these guys are trying to come in and say, for 117 million, we want the San Siro and the surrounding areas and complete ownership of it. And that means that if you do some maths, let's do some quick maths, Shane. 59 million or so. So it makes about 100. 58
Yeah.
million, 500,000
Yeah.
makes 117 million total. So that is one Theo, probably,
Yeah,
isn't it?
but the thing is, though, John, you know yourself, it's also your, you know, yeah. Oof. I mean, the more it goes into it, right, the kind of less that you'd see of value in terms of actually staying there.
Yeah.
You know.
So it means that Oak Tree and Redbird are in love, and they're going to be forming a relationship. where they can cheaply buy this piece of shit land, right? That they want to pay shit money for it. And I'll tell you what, Shane, after they bought it, can the government force them? Can the local council force them to actually start building once they actually own the area? Or will they just sit on their hands and try and sell the clubs? I wonder which one, Shane. I
Things
suspect.
things would be so much easier if we had, and I know it's probably hard to find them nowadays, but if we had like an Italian billionaire as an owner.
Yeah, people that know how the system works. And again, it's all down to this moron who said, I listen to no one. I take advice from no one. I'm a leader. Therefore, I lead. Yeah, that's exactly how we are where we are today.
I'm from a country that's less than 300 years old, but I think I know how cultures are in Europe, where
Yeah, I, dude, I'm
not
genuinely
picking at anyone from the US. I'm just saying
no.
there's a difference.
But this could easily be a thumbnail in itself, couldn't it, Shane? It's just sad. It's just sad that you take the club from any position right now, Shane. Any position, sporting, managerial. I guess the only thing is like sponsorships and shit like that. They're still coming. The sponsors are still coming. They're still paying their money, and that is seen as some kind of a success. But
Yeah.
you did what you did last year, and you've ended up with 4 million profit. 4 million profit.
Mm.
I don't get this. I don't get any of this. And it makes me so sad that these people are here in such a crucial time. They now have a tight deadline they have to achieve in order to build there. And what's really sad is that this is making people genuinely in Italy question whether San Donato is an option again.
I'd hope
Because
so, because to be honest, John, I'd find it very. It'll leave a bad taste in the mouth, right? If Inter can, you know, if Inter's, let's say, punishment, right, for all these years of basically skirting financial fair play, or for basically having these huge salaries compared to everyone else in the league, right? If their gift for that is they can get a stadium at a cost price and sharing with us, when we've had to go through all of these cost cutting exercises, Moneyball, 30 players on under 5 million euros a year or whatever.
yes,
Because the thing is this could cause a very big issue, because I mean, if you look at it, right, I think the way that Oaktree will look at it is they'll go, well, okay, if we're not getting the stadium, we're going to have to flip the club, because there's no way we can make but then if they have to flip the club, right, whoever comes in, right, is not going to just pay whatever they want for it, because he's going to go, well, fucking 300 million in debt, whatever, right?
mm-hmm.
So, you're just kind of looking at it and you're kind of going, kind of their gift for, their last, let's say, I don't want to say decade, but maybe let's say last 5 years of, basically taking the piss financially, is that they'll get a cut price fucking stadium alongside us. And the only difference is they'll probably have 2 or 3 Serie A's in between now and then as well. So,
yeah. I in terms of Inter Milan, this is nothing short of bailing them out,
yep,
and we're
100%.
part of the solution to bailing them out,
Yep.
which is disgusting. The way to have put them in the mire would have been to have gone away and done our own stadium, but we now know, these owners are liars. They've got no intention of stamping up any serious money. San Donato is by the way, San Donato's also got a section that's been called of cultural significance now, because that is Italy.
Some
That
guy's
is
front
how
gate was probably built 90 years ago.
some church or something. I just, it makes me so sad. And we've tried to laugh. We go on the Max's show, and in the chat, and we joke with the guys. We try and be as funny as we can, but it comes a point where you've got to say, you look at the club right now, it's in such a state of disarray there's no fixing this. I'm sorry, and I don't take any pleasure. I don't take any pleasure out of these strange wins that we're doing in Serie A. It doesn't work for me.
I'll
It
tell
doesn't
you
work
one
because
thing, John. Do you know
yeah,
what? I'd say the first thing is if this stadium bullshit does go ahead and we end up having to share with Inter, right? Like, Milan should receive such a big thank you letter from all of the Inter fan base for basically bailing them out. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but what are we gonna have? Curva Sud and Curva Nord holding hands, maybe holding each other's willies when they go to the toilet.
that's it.
You
It's the
know,
nicest way to do it.
is that the thing that we're looking for right now? I don't understand it. I don't. I No. I'm sorry. Looking at this news. First of all, I'm shocked at the price. I'm genuinely shocked at the price and how little it is. And then you kind of think, okay, this is another mistake. The 40-50 million that was put in San Donato would have covered most of this price.
Yeah, but keep in mind as well, John, right? This is Italy, right? So whatever the quota is now, all
Ah,
that's just
you can take me off, dude.
oh yeah, that's just to maintain the there we go. That's just to maintain or to buy the stadium, right, in the surrounding area, but you still have to build on it then. And because Italy being Italy, right, whatever's quoted the cost price this year, it's just going to increase by 20% every year until it's completed in a decade's time, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's no. Do you know the way I put this? And
mm,
this is going to be controversial, Shane.
mm,
Right? What would you think Santos fans would have done if a new ownership had come in, bought Santos, and thrown out Pele?
yeah.
What do you think Napoli fans would have done if a new owner came in and threw away Maradona?
Mm.
Yeah? What did our fan base do when Maldini was thrown to the curb by
Celebrate.
Cardinale? Some of our fans celebrated. It's disgusting.
Mm.
That's how I equate it. To me, Maldini is one of the greatest ever Italian players of all time. Yeah? An all-time legend of a club. And I think historically he will go down as on the level of Maradona and Pele in terms of all-time greats.
Yep.
Now, if you think that was associated to your club, you willfully chose to eject him and replace him with a journeyman who has an ego bigger than the world. Yep.
It's just it's lack of understanding, John. And what it
But
is, and that's a kind way to put it, right? But it's very much the
yeah, and I said this is not going to be like by a lot of people. What I just said, a lot of people are going to say to me, he was just a great player. He was a crap technical director. You do not understand. You just simply do not understand, and you and I do not have the same appreciation for what that name means to our club.
Mm.
It is literally a level of player as Pele and Maradona. And maybe those people will be like, oh, well, if an American owner had come in and bought Santos, they could have ejected Pele because that's completely okay. No. Absolutely. I mean, you just think about that. You think impossible, right?
No, but you see, but again, this is the issue, I think. So when you have maybe people coming in from a specific, let's say, country where everyone is a journeyman and there isn't really any club legends, you know,
Yeah.
and there isn't an understanding of, and it's true, no one's fault, right? Because it's still a relatively young country, and it is what it is. But because it's a young country, there's not really an appreciation or an understanding for deep inherent cultural things. And part of what a cultural thing is it's a name tied to a place or a name tied to a club or a person that's done great things for a club. I don't think that level of appreciation is really there or it's understood.
Maybe I'm not making myself clear. I think that I'm not blaming Cardinale because I think Cardinale is inept
Hmm.
on the sporting side, cultural side. He's
Hmm.
inept. He says things that make no sense at all. We all know they make no sense because we have watched football our entire lives, right?
Sure.
We've seen owners come in. I'm talking about the fan base of Milan.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
talking about the people who were completely accepting of this, and some who even excused it,
yeah.
and some who to this day will say he didn't do a great job. He bought X and X and X player. They were crap. You are not understanding. You are not understanding of what that meant to a club. Removing somebody like that is where we are today. It's because of that, because that was a symptom of a much greater thing going on around that club, because people did not understand what Milan was. And we've got fans, which is, I think it was Kim that said it, something about headlines,
Mm.
right? Something big headlines about masterclass and all. Pathetic. Pathetic.
We don't have
And
we no longer have the players. The thing is I think so. If you stack up our two, let's say on their day, right, our two best players that are going to be what, Leao and Pulisic, right?
yes, let's say that.
If you stack them against, let's say, the greatest teams in Europe, right, they're probably not getting a game.
No,
So
I mean, no, no, no. I think. Listen. It's really hard, Shane. It's
mm,
so difficult to gauge what the level of these players is, because there's no gameplay going on. So
not that.
Reindeer is scoring from the Netherlands. Reindeer seems to be having fun at Milan. Pulisic is clearly putting a lot of work in. But what is the base level of that club? Uh, uh, Toyota said Toyota said quite clearly, Fabregas has done a job with Como. He's got them playing football. We are
Mm,
not. We are not playing football, right?
so,
So those people that understand, a lot of these players signed because of that name. A lot of these players extended because of that name. The influence is way beyond the fact that this guy became a technical director. The influence was that this person was part of the DNA of the club,
and
exactly as Toyota
and
says.
John and I'm convinced if Maldini was still at the club, Theo would be one of the, if not the best left back in the world
Yes,
at this point.
Shane. Oh my God, exactly. That comment. I think back to that comment when you have a player, when you look after a player, it's not just wages. It's not
Mm,
just what they eat. You have to look after them. You have he even said you have to cuddle them was one of the words. Yeah,
mm,
he understood because he's been there and done it, and he has been there with some of the greatest players in the history of world football. He has
mm.
played alongside them. He understands the personality. Does Moncada do that? Would anybody listen to him? Of course not.
No, because he's
Moncada,
no experience.
he's got no personal experience. Moncada is probably going to France because he doesn't understand the Italian system. Yeah?
There we go.
It- it's like, this is why I'm saying, I'm glad that today I'm going to go and watch some Legends. I'll take loads of pictures. We'll post it in the next pod. It'll be good fun and all this kind of stuff. It's a bit of light-hearted stuff. But the club itself, I need Redbird, Elliot, get out. Like,
Yeah.
I need the fans to just, why are you doing this? Why are you saying this is okay? Why are you saying masterclass? It shows you how pathetic you are.
Just John, can you imagine? It's why I'm very envious about Como,
Yes.
because I can imagine if we gotten in someone like that into a club that's this size, with the amount of
Yes.
money that they have.
Yes. Completely agreed. Completely agreed. And the other question was, how do things get done in Italy? Well, things get done in Italy by paying a lot of money to the right people, having the right connections. I I know people in high places. Let's just say you get there through nefarious ways. Let's say that. Let's just say that. Let's put it that way, right? I'm not naming names, but it's,
Non-standard, potentially financial ways. Yeah.
you see. So
Well,
so yeah, that's where we are this week. The news on the stadium, the news on the players going, the new sporting director, the coach. But the problem is much bigger than that. I think the problem is in the fan base. It's lame. A lot of the fan base is really, really weak and lame.
But the thing is, though, John, like it's like as soon as you know, if a serious bid comes in for Pulisic, right? You know, and you know they'll sell him off to the EPL or wherever the fuck he ends up going, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, do you think you're going to be getting all the jerseys sold in the States then? Because you're not. Because those guys are literally, they don't give a shit about the club. They're just following because of Pulisic. If Pulisic
I mean,
rocks
I'm
up at
sure a lot
Barcelona,
are. Yeah, but you see, Shane, this is like in danger of sounding like we are anti-American, right?
no, and that's definitely not the case. 100%
exactly.
not the case. They're
But
definitely
it's just like me saying I'm not a racist and I'm going to say something racist, right? I'm really humble, but I'm the greatest ever. No, that's not what we're doing here, right? It's you see what I'm saying? It's not what we're doing here. We're literally saying if you, and I think you said this, Shane, which was really really good. If you don't know shit about something, surround yourself with people that do,
Mm.
and then you will be okay.
Mm.
If you want to be a leader and you want, again, this is in my opinion from just, let's just say, personal experience, surround yourself with people who are better than you, who will work with you, who want to be in that fight with you. Yeah. And then you will all move forward together and you'll get things done. You'll get shit done. But
Yeah.
you need people, especially in Italy, that understand how things are done. You cannot walk in and say, I'm going to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to help the entire league. I'm going to help them. No, none of the other owners give a fuck about you. Yeah.
Mm.
And then you try and buy Italian players, Shane. You turn around and say, I want that player. They'll turn around, oh, look, it's that idiot over there. Let's charge him 40 million more. But then Juventus come along and like, okay, no, you can have him for 5 million. You see, that's the
Yeah.
thing.
But you see, Toyota's right. Another good point. So, shout out Catchy Beat. Lots of corruption in Italy. We're becoming more and more aware of that as the stadium situation goes on. Toyota's, though, every detail matters when you want to run a championship level club. Redbird fan base settle for mediocrity, and it shows. And this, I think, this is directly. And again, I just want to echo what John said. It's not. I am not inherently biased against America or Americans or anything like that. I'm what I'm trying to say is there's differences culturally, right? And you can't, and the older a culture is, it's more and more impossible for a younger culture to come in and try and bulldoze that older culture with money because that culture is old and ingrained, right? So it's not compatible, right? So, and because it's not compatible in terms of the sporting success, I mean, and sports, I think this is kind of where we're seeing we're seeing this is the results of what we're seeing, right? And this is kind of where it's hard for me.
Yeah. But I mean, Shane, you're not even bulldozing with money because you're not applying
That's
money to
fair.
anyone's time.
That's
You're
fair.
coming in and you're saying, I want to buy the Sincere in the surrounding area for 58.5 million for my share and share it with our ultra lifelong enemy that we want to destroy. I
Mm.
should say, the traditional fan base want to absolutely obliterate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they are more willing than saying, oh, let's shake hands. Let's hold each other's
John,
todgers in the toilet.
and why I'd mentioned about the Pulisic fans, right? Anyone's entitled to support a football player. I don't understand it. Some people do it. They don't support the club. They just wherever this player goes, they support. I don't get it, but hey, you do you, right? So fair dues to them. So if they're supporting Pulisic, that's great. But the problem is they will not know anything about this club's past. All they know about is where the club's at now. So therefore, where the club's at now is okay for them. See,
Yeah.
so there's no. So the more new fans, right, the Cardinale gets in, the better overall it work for him because you could literally, sell ice to Eskimos at that point. Because it's like you're not really selling sporting success, but it doesn't matter because all you're trying to do is just get enough fucking idiots buying your jerseys right? Just to, make a profit at the end of a year and then flip the club, So
Yeah, yeah. I just think back, and I think the mistakes made were so enormous, and the damage done now will take years to recover from,
yep,
because the team has to be rebuilt. That
100
that
do it.
core has to the Milan has to come back into it. The core of Milan has to come back into the club, which has been gone, has been drained away. There's a few players I like to keep. 2 or 3 players I like to keep. The rest of them, I throw them out quite easily without any problem at all, and I would then start again. But it would have to be under a new ownership. I don't trust anything that these guys are doing. So I get it. You're trying to cope. So you're trying to hope that a new DS, like this guy that we spoke about today, you're hoping that he's going to be the big switch. I don't hope that.
It's
I hope
impossible,
that,
dude. It's impossible because we are completely capable of getting a sporting director that would change it around. However, that is not the MO of this ownership. Basically, we just want to do just enough to be able to sell jerseys and fleece people for money,
yeah,
right? And then, so sporting success is not really, it's not, they can say one thing, right? But, let's be honest, right? If you're a professional football club and you don't have a sporting director for 2 years,
yeah. And the other thing is, this thing about the identity of the club. There is no appreciation or understanding of the identity of the club at the moment. The discussion about next year's jersey having not having actually. Do you see my badge? Do you see my badge right here?
mm,
Do you see the colors on my badge? You will not see that in a home jersey next year if they have their way. In fact, the jersey you're wearing, isn't
yeah,
that a monochrome badge?
it is
But it's
indeed,
an
yeah.
away kit, isn't it?
Which one is
Yeah,
it? It was the third jersey. It's the ugliest fucking jersey I've ever. I usually wear it to go to the gym. So I'm going to
right.
the gym after this pod. So that's the only time I wear it because I fucking hate it.
So let's just say that is what these people think is okay to do. Like the comment I had in our WhatsApp group, and again, if anybody wants to join our WhatsApp group, I'm going to do us Hasni's job. Look us up on social media, get in contact, and we'll add you to the WhatsApp group. It's always a very lively discussion, and always enjoyable to talk to everyone there.
Milanesis 360. So that's on Instagram or on X.
Yeah,
Just ping us on there and we'll add you in.
yeah. And the discussion there was that marketing person that walked into the room and suggested to do a home kit like that should have been sacked that day.
That's the thing. Yeah. But
Yeah,
again,
that
like
person that
it's
came in and
not
said,
surprised. It's you can't be surprised at this point. It's
"Oh no, Shane, I'm not surprised. Shane, I'm not surprised. You're absolutely right." But for someone to then say, "Oh yeah, that badge looks all right on the home kit," that next person that made that decision should also be sacked.
yeah.
Yeah, so that tells me that the people there are not Milanisti, or I should say, maybe they're Milanisti born in 2019. They just don't understand anything. And how hard can it be to just literally grab someone off the street in Milan,
Mm.
bring them in, and say, just go to Milan store, right? Grab someone who's shopping, say, bring them in. What is this? What do you think of this? People should tell you, the fan base should tell you it's bullshit. It shouldn't be anywhere near our club. But there's fans now that will literally say to you, that's absolutely fine.
No, no, it's not. Because you see, the thing is so in a way, right? I'm trying to look at this in a positive light, and to do that, I can only kind of look at it for maybe the future time. So let's say, right, whatever happens with the stadium, let's say, so it comes time that Redbird has finally decided to sell us, right?
Yeah.
As a new owner, right? This is me just trying to come up with something positive, right? But as a new owner, right, I literally have the easiest job in the world, right? As if I buy Milan in the morning, I have such an easy job. Because literally all I have to do is I just reinstate Maldini, right? I change back
Yes.
the club crest, right? And then,
Yes.
like bring
They
back
will love you. They
right?
will
And it's
adore
like
you.
I'd be like a god, right? You would like, right? Because you're
Yeah.
literally just undoing, right?
We
Like,
will adore you if you do that.
you know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and that's the only way it makes sense. So
You
whoever is the owners after Redbird, well done. You have such an easy time ahead of yourself. You won't know you were born.
I mean,
Uh,
that's such a great point, Shane. It's
mm,
such an easy task, man.
mm,
It'd be like the easy task would be reinstate the guy and let him do his thing,
mm,
right? And then the other thing is the harder task is right. We made a fucked up mistake in getting rid of Tonali. We need to find a way of bringing him back. He needs to be our captain for the future. You know, put plans in place so people understand what you're trying to do. Oh
mm.
my god, you will literally be loved. I mean, part of me is like, when I saw the price of that stadium, there was like a Euro Millions lottery for 160 million. I
Mm.
thought, if I won that, I would just
You
go
just
in,
buy it.
buy it, and say, "You guys go fuck yourselves. Try
That's
and buy
it.
it off me." That's what I would have said. There you go. I own the land. What do you want to do now, you pricks? Get out of
And,
my club.
that's it. I'll
Yeah,
give
and
it
then
to Inter
Maldini would
for
come
one
in.
euro.
Yeah, imagine. Then Maldini would come in with his consortium, and I'd hand it over to him.
There you
That's what I
go.
would do with it. Honestly,
There we
all
go.
of you guys should want me to win to win the Euro Millions lottery.
That'd be
I'd
fucking
fix this problem.
fantastic, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Um,
is. It is.
yeah,
It's the.
Cacciavit.
It's fucking.
Caccia.
Yeah. All the
He
comments
says,
are.
"Vendi Cardinale per favore." He says, "Sell Cardinale, please."
Mm,
And yeah, Toyotas, absolutely, mate. We're in. We're s- singing from the same hymn sheet. I love that saying in England.
that's
Um,
it.
even though I'm not a churchgoer. Yeah, Jerry didn't know our history. Toulouse. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Huge, huge. Like we could have maybe at the end of the season, maybe when these guys sell, Shane,
Mm,
we could have a pod uh, to go through the bullshit that was said. But we can only do that and look back on it and laugh
that's
once
it.
it's
Yeah.
gone.
No,
We
no,
can't do it.
100%. Because you know, because the thing is, right? You could also look at it in the way that, like, I'm fairly sure that the Liverpool fans weren't happy when they got taken over by what was the crowd owns Liverpool. Um, is it the Freakins or something?
I don't remember, man. Again, Liverpool.
But they're American owned, right? But the thing is that while they're doing it an awful lot more successfully, but they are implementing some version of Moneyball. But the thing is that they're doing that in the EPL, right? So an EPL Moneyball team is probably still spending 4 or 5 times what a Serie A team is spending. Let alone a
Yes.
Serie A
Yeah,
team that's
yeah,
spending.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So you have a far greater margin for error, basically. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So
It's not equal. It does not equate at all. The big thing here, Toyota says we become the Man United Serie A. The only
100%.
thing I'll say against that is that Man United have just announced a multi-billion stadium, which looks a bit like a circus tent, but it is a huge construction that they're going to be taking on, which is they're doing in a very good way. They're firing staff who are on low wages. Um, Telling people you can't have lunch unless you're a player. You can't have a free lunch at this. Like you're saving pennies. What you should be doing is cutting a player. As a single player being cut, you'll be able to fund all those people who are doing honest, hard work for your club and who are genuine supporters of the club. That's what you should be doing. You should never allow people like that to leave your club because that's generational support. But these people don't understand these things, Shane. They
But
just, as
it's an interesting
Kashevich says.
experiment, right? Because it just shows you literally can win nothing in a decade,
Mm.
and and people still show up to the games. I mean, it's crazy, and because I think I seen the reports, and isn't it like 100,000 capacity?
Yeah, huge, absolutely
So
huge. 100,000, yeah.
100,000 for a team that's probably what Conference League level.
You're thinking about right now, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it wasn't long ago that they were the wealthiest and the most profitable club in the world. So I get why they stepped in, but then their behavior has been shocking. But we've got nothing. Again, this is the other thing that, Shane, I don't know if you feel the same. I find it absolutely mental that people turn around and laugh at Napoli. They laugh at Juventus. You've got nothing to laugh at.
No, not
Look
at
at
all.
what we are.
At least Juventus are trying to make a push.
I mean,
Like,
Juventus already said we're sacking Thiago Motta and we're potentially going to bring in a coach for the last few months because we're so desperate to hang on to fourth place.
I mean, if you think about it, so if you want to understand levels about how if a team is serious or not, how many games have Juventus lost all season? 1 or 2? I know they've drawn a lot, right? But I think they've only lost 1 or 2 games all season, right, in the league.
I mean, they've lost maybe 3, I'm thinking.
3.
Yeah, I'm
And
thinking
then
3.
so 3 games, right? And I know there's been a ton of draws there, but it just kind of shows you it's like when your management actually wants sporting success, they will cut very quickly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Versus
you act before the rot sets in. Whilst
100%.
with us, you're
Like,
always acting after.
it's like Pioli was what? A year, maybe at
Too
least
late,
a year delayed, right? Everyone knew
Yeah.
the writing was on the wall. The players had just stopped playing for him at some point.
Dropped us out of the World Club Cup quite easily. It was like
Right.
we were screaming and saying, "Now, do it now, do it now, do it now." And it's like, yeah, the gangrene has set in. The entire limb now has to be chopped off.
That's
I
it.
mean, if Milan right now was a person, it probably wouldn't have any legs.
That's it. So it's the Fenway Sports Group, in charge of Liverpool. That sounds like the guys I was talking about. Oh, it's Friedkin's
Anyway.
own Roma, is it? Yeah, that's where I'm getting
I think so.
confused.
Yeah, that sounds right. Right, guys. Pleasure talking to you, Shane, as always.
That's it.
And having this discussion. Toyotas, nice. Let's try and remember all the names. Come on, Shane. So we've got Gunardi, Kashavit, Kim chimed in, Toyotas,
MLM.
Fahadinho, of course. Let's not forget
Fahadinho.
Fahadinho. Anyone else?
Did we miss anyone?
Oh,
Skillard.
Skillard, of course, our co-host, who is right now busy buying next year's jersey before it's available.
That's it. Nice time was had by all, gents. We shall see you next week.
Yeah, I'm going to say Forza Como, mate. Forza Como.
Forza Como. God bless. See ya.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Che comunque il calcio è imprevedibile e le cose non sono mai scontate, quindi è anche la bellezza, no, di questo sport.
Io rappresentavo per questa squadra, era quello che non mollava mai, quello che doveva fare stare sempre su il morale, ma io mi ci trovavo bene perché sono sempre stato uno che mi piaceva dare fuoco ai miei compagni, incaricarli prima delle partite.
Il mio sogno di si è avverato, è uno dei sogni dei bambini, di tanti bambini.
È un qualcosa per la gente che riusciamo a fare diventare matti, riusciamo a fare diventare felici e contenti.
Con questa maglia devo veramente fare una